we will discuss about business models today. And if anybody wants to kind of speak up at any time, you are welcome to speak up. These are certain very simple rules for engagement for the next 1.5 hours. Do you agree with all of these?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Especially point number 4. So if you have any kind of question, please feel free to ask. However silly you might think it is, a question is never silly. So please ask as many questions as you would like to. All right. So today what we will talk about is, when people talk about, there is a session on business models. Everybody wants to talk about the business model canvas and lean canvas, etc. I'm going to keep away from that. And what I'm going to share with you are some real examples of unique business models. Over the last, say, 10 to 12 years, I have been trying to look at companies which have innovated on the business model, which companies normally innovate on product, technology, etc., and also the business model. But I have focused my attention in this last 10, 12 years on companies which have evolved and innovated on the business model specifically. They have innovated on product and technology as well, but their main focus has been innovation on the business model. And what I'm going to talk about now for the next 1 hour, 15 minutes or so, and then we'll take question answers for the last 15, 20 minutes, what I will speak about is what are the building blocks, or what are the traits, or what are the underlying principles on the basis of which these companies have innovated on the business model. All right, so let us focus on that and let's get going. And then after having gone through these 6, 7 traits, think which ones could be applicable for the startup or the venture that you are trying to create. All right, so yeah. Now, are you aware of Javed Habib's salons? Everybody is aware of Javed Habib salons. You can speak up. Hair cutting salons.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Javed Habib is a celebrity hairstylist, and about 13, 14 years back, he started a academy to train hairstylists. He himself was a celebrity, so he started a training school for hairstyling, and simultaneously he started franchising out his salons under the brand name Hair Espresso. Franchising out means he is not investing in real estate; he is appointing franchisees. All right. Now, when you go for a haircut in a Hair Espresso salon, who are the people who actually do your hairstyling? Most of the times, 90 to 95% of them are student interns from his own academy of hairstyling, which means Javed Habib, suppose I am Javed Habib, on one side, he runs a hairstyling academy where students pay him to enter that hairstyling academy to learn hairstyling. And on the other end, there is his chain of hairstyling salons, franchisees of hairstyling salons, where the same students are made to work as hairstylists as a part of their internship or as a part of their experience. So, in short, Javed Habib is in the middle and he is getting paid from his back-end suppliers, that is the students, as well as the front-end consumers. So that's what I call as double whammy. Can you create a business which pays you from both sides of the value chain, that is from the supplier side as well as from the customer side? So that's one trait that I figured out, that I kind of felt was a unique one. Most of the time, businesses get paid only from one side of their value chain, that is from the customers. Can you structure a business which can help you get paid from both sides of the value chain, is a question that I'm raising. Then there is another company called Duolingo. Everybody aware of this Duolingo app? Anybody
Yes, sir.
know? Anybody
Yeah.
who doesn't know? I can explain. Duolingo, Google Play Store, Apple App Store, it is available. It
I
is a
think they
language
don't know
learning
the
app. Yeah, it is a language learning app where
language.
you can download it to learn some new foreign languages. All right. So now Duolingo actually is a translation company. What it does is, suppose I am Duolingo, and say Arpan Ghosh is a Japanese company wanting to enter into India. So it wants all its instruction manual, product manual, etc., translated from Japanese into English, Hindi, or various Indian languages. All right. So this Japanese company uh, gives me, I am Duolingo, gives me the job for translation. Now, what I do is that document I take and I cut that document into small little words, paragraphs, sentences, etc., and create some nice animation around those whole words and sentences. And then I push it through the App Store or the Google Play Store into the Duolingo app. So any of you who want to learn the Japanese language will actually be playing with that, with all that animation. Playing with that animation means what? You are actually going to guess the words, translate. You are learning the language, so you're going to do the translation there. You are going to play with those words and paragraphs, sentence construction, etc., etc. And when you get it right, you get upgraded. All right. So basically, what Duolingo has done is taken the document from the Japanese company, broken it down into small little bits and pieces, created some animation around it, and has pushed it down the app where all of you who want to learn Japanese are actually playing with it and actually doing the translation. And at the back end, Duolingo has an intelligent app, has an intelligent algorithm which picks up the best translation from all your translations and actually stitches the document up, and it is ready, translated, and given back to the Japanese company. Now, what happens is the Japanese company is paying Duolingo as well as you, the consumers. It is a freemium model. So after some 5-6 levels, you start paying to get more and more proficient in the language, which means Duolingo is getting paid from both ends of the value chain. That's what I call as double whammy. Now, when can one use this kind of a business model? Wherever in any domain that you are working in, if there is any chance of training at a mass scale, you can use this kind of a model. I repeat, whenever there is a scope for training at a mass scale, at a relatively mass scale, you can use this kind of a model. All right, I will stop here. Some questions or comments on what I said just now?
You can post your questions in the chat box as well.
Or you can just
Or you can
unmute
speak up.
yourself and talk also, no problem.
Yeah.
If there is any question, you can just unmute yourself and talk, no problem.
Yeah.
Is double whammy clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now let us go to the next one. Have you heard of this, about 12, 13 years back, 2007, 2008, two boys from IIT Delhi, just during some random discussion and argument, they kind of came to a conclusion that on an average, a university student in India does xeroxing of notes worth about 200 rupees every semester. Back then, we used to take Xerox copies, right? The scanning on mobile phones was not the thing at that time, 12, 13 years back, 2007, 2008. So these guys figured out from a survey, general dipstick survey, reading here and there, they figured out that on an average, 200 rupees worth of Xeroxing is done per semester by a student in an Indian university. There are 2 semesters in a year, so 200 into 2, 400 rupees worth of Xeroxing is done on an average across India among the student population. Now, these students, then they figured out a little more of research told them that almost 20 lakh students pass out of Indian universities every single year. And on an average, a university student spends either 3 years or 5 years in a university, which means on an average, 4 years in an Indian university. And every year there are 20 lakh students who are moving from first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and passed out, which means there are 80 lakh students at any time doing 2 semesters in a year and Xeroxing worth rupees 400 per year, which means 80 lakhs into 400 is the Xeroxing of notes only from the student population is a 320 crore market in India. And how is this market currently? It is a very scattered market. It's an unorganized market. You go straight along the road, you will find one Xerox vendor. You go behind you will find another Xerox vendor. You go to the left, you will find another Xerox vendor. And these Xerox vendors are not connected to each other at all. They are all independent entities. So it's a fragmented market. So what these guys did was they created a website. Overnight, they created a website using Java, HTML, etc., exported all that. And they called it phokatcopy.com, phokatcopy.com, phokatcopy.com. That means freecopy.com. How they functioned was they contacted 9 to 10 Xerox vendors around IIT Delhi, and told them that any student who comes to you for doing any kind of Xeroxing work, do not reduce even a single paisa from what you used to charge yesterday. Charge him exactly what you used to charge till yesterday. Don't change your pricing. Only thing is that along with every 20 Xerox copies that the student takes from you, give them one scratch card of ours. That is, they created a nice branded scratch card branded with Fokat copy, etc. And a scratch card is a card which has a number on which if you scratch out the top ink, you kind of find a 10 or 12 digit number. And there were instructions on the card saying that visit our site, phokatcopy.com. On that site, punch in these numbers, and the site will generate a encashable discount coupon, which can be used with our affiliates such as CCD, Barista, Hard Rock Cafe, Wimpy's, Nirula's, etc. in Delhi. And you can get a discount equivalent to the amount of Xeroxing that you have done. So if you've done Xeroxing worth rupees 40 and you get 2 scratch cards, so you can, next time you visit a CCD, Barista, etc., if you show this encashable discount coupon, you can get a discount of 40 rupees, which meant that the students' Xeroxing is completely free, which means it is actually Fokat. Now, what did these guys do? These guys actually aggregated competitors on a platform, and in the process created a win-win situation for everybody in the every stakeholder in that ecosystem. If you notice, the students get their Xeroxing free. The affiliates, that is CCD, Barista, etc., their customer acquisition cost comes down, so they are happy to affiliate with phokatcopy.com. And the Xerox vendor actually doesn't lose a single rupee on whatever business he or she does. Actually, in a locality, Fokat Copy would connect with not all the Xerox vendors, but maybe 50-60% of the Xerox vendors only. So whoever is associated with phokatcopy.com that Xerox vendor will get additional footfall of students, because students will flock to them, because you get a discount here, you don't get a discount at the other place. So the Xerox vendors who are associated with these photocopy guys actually get their business increased. So that's a complete win-win situations for everybody involved in the whole process. So how can you aggregate competitors on a platform is something that one can think of. All right. Any questions, comments on this point? Clear to everybody? Yeah, clear to everybody?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Aryan.
Yes, sir. Sir, good morning. Sir, I have this question that if we increase the competition, won't the capitalism will go down in the market if we belong to a same category or a
Which
same genre?
competition you're increasing?
See, suppose for an example, if like I'm working on a healthcare device,
Yeah,
and if I create a platform by which multiple devices can be there in the market
yeah,
at the same time,
yeah.
then sir, instead of increasing the capitalism, the competition will increase and the revenue generation will decrease for that particular competition due to that competition, right?
How if you are creating a platform where actually you get in your competitors also on the same platform, suppose, imagine, then every time your competitor makes a sale, you also make money.
Yes, sir.
You get it? So that's like creating a win-win situation. How can you create win-win situations in your domain? We will that's what you need to think of. And your specific healthcare example, towards the end, just remind me, I will give you an example from one of my experiences with my students. A healthcare device itself, all right? Just
Okay, sir.
remind me. We will talk
Thank you,
about how building a platform can completely transform the ecosystem. All right?
sir. Okay, sir. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Yeah, I will. Just remind me at the end, okay?
Okay, sir.
Any other questions? Any other comments? All right. Okay. Now, my question to you all, or you can unmute yourself and respond. Uh, what is the origin of Uber's business? How did Uber start its business? Where did the idea come from? Anybody has any idea? Anyone? How did Uber start its business? All right. Okay. Uh, Uber started in the city of San Francisco. Everybody must be aware of that. All right. Now, uh, what the initial founder noticed that outside these big five-star hotels, there are these big luxury vehicles with a T mark on it. That is, they are passenger taxis. And these passenger taxis, 90 to 95% of the time, are not owned by the hotel. They are owned by fleet rental companies like Budget and Hertz and Avis and those kinds of companies, which rent out these vehicles to the five-star hotels. And 40 to 45% of the time, these taxis are idle. That is, they do not have customers. Now, these are expensive vehicles, right? S-Class Mercedes and 5 and 7 series BMWs, etc. Now, I have a question to all of you. If you were the fleet rental company, and if 40 to 45% of the time your expensive assets are lying idle without generating any business, would you be happy with this kind of a situation?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Obviously not, right?
No,
So,
sir.
this is the opportunity that Uber spotted. And then they created the geolocation app. and went to these fleet rental companies saying that in the idle time of your vehicles, if we give you passengers, would you take those rides? Now, who in their sensible state of mind would refuse such an offer? I'll repeat again. If in your idle time, if we give you passenger rides, will you take them? Will you refuse such an offer? Will anybody refuse such an offer?
No.
Obviously not, right?
No,
So,
sir.
so what did Uber do? Uber identified somebody else's NVA. NVA means non-value adding asset, and helped them to monetize it, and in the process made money for themselves. Are we clear about this basic fundamental principle of Uber's business? That it identified somebody else's non-value adding asset and helped them monetize it, and in the process made money for themselves. So in your ecosystem, just look around. Who are the vendors, suppliers, distribution channels, etc., who have some idle asset or a non-value adding asset? Can you collaborate and create some platforms which help them do business, and in the process they're happy to share revenue with you? This can be explored in any kind of domain. Healthcare, hospitals have so much of idle capacity. Labs have so much of idle capacity. What has SRL done? SRL has identified that kind of a synergy and is doing very good business with that. They're becoming outsourced agents for hospitals. So hospitals don't have to set up too much of a complex pathological lab in-house. These guys do all of it externally. So this is just one example I'm saying. So my point here is identifying non-value adding assets in the ecosystem and helping them monetize that non-value adding asset, and in the process you also get a part of that revenue. So once again, it is about creating win-win situations there. Airbnb also does the same thing in the hospitality space. Anybody who having extra space in the house can rent it out. So somebody's non-value adding asset, Airbnb has given a platform to monetize. All right. Then there is this ringback tone advertising. When you call up, these Airtel and these Vodafone, etc., sell us some caller tunes. What are those caller tunes? Those caller tunes are actually some songs or some tunes made by some artists who want to make it popular. So Vodafone gets money from them and gets money from you as well. So basically, when we call up any friend, till the time the friend picks up is an idle time for us, which means it is an idle asset, which is a non-value adding asset for us. So these mobile service providers have identified our time spent when the other person doesn't pick up as an idle asset and has tried to monetize the whole thing. Now, let us think a little deeper in this whole thing. Suppose I am a company which comes to you and says, every time you make, if you subscribe to my service, I will ensure that your mobile phone bills will come down. Would you be happy to subscribe to such a service? If I tell you, if you subscribe to my service, I will ensure that your mobile phone bills will come down. Will you be happy to use this service? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how does this function? Suppose my customer is, say, Aryan. Aryan, right? Aryan Jaiswal? Yeah, Aryan. I saw your name sometime back, so I remember. Suppose I come to Aryan and say that I have 4 plans. One is a 15-second plan. One is a 30-second plan. Another one is a 45-second plan and a 60-second plan. If you want your mobile phone bills to be coming down, you can subscribe to any one of these plans. Suppose Aryan subscribes to my 15-second plan. Then he downloads my app. And once my app is downloaded into his system, then uh, I have a lot of control over his phone. Now, since he is subscribed to my 15-second plan, what happens is that every time Aryan makes a call to any of his friends, the call will not get connected for 15 seconds. But in those 15 seconds, through the app, Aryan will have to listen to some advertisements or some songs which I have pushed into his phone. Which means for 15 seconds, he is subjected to that advertisement. And only after 15 seconds, his friend's phone will ring. And similarly, vice versa. Any of his friends calling Aryan's phone will not ring for 15 seconds. It will ring only after 15 seconds. And in those 15 seconds, anybody who is calling Aryan will be made to listen to some ads that I have pushed in through the app. Which means the advertiser is paying me to push in those ads. And I am sharing some revenue with Aryan, by virtue of which his mobile phone bill comes down for the month. Which means I have identified that idle time till a person picks up the phone as a non-value adding asset and pushed in some service and have made revenue in the whole thing. So follows the same principle, identifying someone else's NVA, helping them monetize it, and in the process, you also kind of make money. Any questions on this? Comments? Is it clear? Whatever I said some time back. Okay, so let's go ahead. Because you do business with somebody else's NVA, you can do it with zero inventory of your own. Straightforward. I don't really need to talk about it. Because you're doing business using somebody else's non-value adding asset, you can do business with zero inventory, practically zero inventory of your own. All right. So I won't talk much about this. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Fractional ownership. This company called NetJets is an American company which used to sell private jets. This is an older story, about 22 years back. Private jets. Now, who buys private jets? Private jets, private aircrafts are bought by super rich people, right? Say super multiplied into 10 raised to 8 into rich variety. So Mukesh Ambani, Ratan Tata, etc., etc., etc. Now, NetJets faced a very peculiar situation. In the world, how many such super rich people exist? Finally, the growth of their market was getting stagnated. They were not able to sell more because the customer crowd, the target segment is limited. So they were not growing at the rate at which they would want to grow. So they did a little bit of research and came to a conclusion that slightly below this super into 10 raised to 8 rich variety, there is another segment which is super into say 10 raised to 8 into rich variety, which is also running large businesses, maybe not as large as Reliance and Tata, but they are running large businesses like maybe Airtel or Future Group or etc., etc., etc. Now, these people also are super into 10 raised to 8 into rich. They are also very, very busy themselves. They also need a private aircraft. But these kind of entrepreneurs or promoters do not have the cash flow to suddenly take out 250, 300 crores from their business and buy an aircraft of their own, a private aircraft of their own. But they need a private aircraft because they are also very busy. if they have to travel at short notice, they can't wait for commercial airlines timetable, etc., etc. They can't wait 3 days to travel. Tomorrow they have to travel means they have to travel at short notice. So they need an aircraft at their disposal, but they are not able to buy one for themselves because their cash flows don't permit. Even if they are rich, but all of it money is invested into businesses, etc. It's not lying idle. So there is a need in that market, but the means to buy it don't exist. So these NetJets fellows identified this and came up with an offer of fractional ownership to these people. What does fractional ownership mean? Now, suppose I find 5 people in your group who are that super into 10 raised to 8 into rich variety. So I go to them and say that, okay, you cannot pay us 300 crores in one go, fine. But what if I give you an offer that you pay us, say, 80 crores, I will find somebody else who pays another 60 crores, I will find somebody else who pays another 90 crores, etc. And total it up to 300 crores. And I will sell you the aircraft as a fractional owner. And the flying time per year will be distributed according to the ownership of each one of you. Whoever has paid, say, 20% will get 20% flying time. Whoever has paid 25% gets 25% of the flying time in the year. Now, because of this, they were able to open up a market which was not looking at them earlier. So fractional ownership. Are we clear about this? And now, are there any doubts about this model? I'm sure there will be doubts about this model. So please ask. Will this work? Will this not work? Yes, guys, please feel free to talk, chat.
You can ask questions.
Yeah, just unmute yourselves and ask the question. Chat window becomes quite slow.
Hello.
You're unmuting your.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, again, I have a question on this.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, like you said that the amount of fraction any of the individual will pay, that much amount of time period that individual will be given.
Right.
Sir, what if like the time clashes?
Good
Like
question.
I have to go at the same place at this time, and you also have to go to that place in a different place in that same time,
Yeah,
and we share upon like same ownership. Then
I wanted this question to come along. So you tell me, I'm asking the question back to all of you. How will you solve this problem? Let us solve it collectively and then conclude what NetJets actually did.
sir, they can build a year plan. Like every of the individual will have to give a particular time in the year where they can have to
That defeats
travel.
the purpose. No, their time is like tomorrow I have to fly means I have to fly. A lot of times it comes up last minute, impromptu. And that's why they want a private aircraft. If they could plan their schedules, they would go with commercial airlines. No?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So please
They can buy different ownerships for different planes.
They can buy.
Fractional ownership for different planes, like 2 or 3 planes.
Okay, but then if they had that much money, they would buy one aircraft for themselves only, no? Yeah.
So, but it's like instead of buying 100%, I can buy 10% in 3 places.
Chalo, all right. One possibility. What else can be done?
First come, first serve.
First come, first serve. Okay, all right. What else? Yeah.
Sir,
As per the
much will be
ownership
the
amount.
As per the ownership amount. All right. Now, these are really premium class fellows, right? People who are shelling out 80, 90 crores in one go, etc. Now, can you really tell a person that, no, boss, this person has given 5 crores more than you have paid, so he will get a preference and you will not get a preference? Can you treat these premium customers at that in that way, in that manner? Can you do that?
No.
Not possible.
You can't, right? I mean, that's not good customer service. So now what happens? Now what they came up with was very simple. Fractional ownership means they are not selling one aircraft to only one group. They are selling 300 aircraft to 300 other groups also. Agreed? And it is highly unlikely that all 1500 people would want to fly at the same time. So any aircraft that is idle with another group can be given to this person where there is a clash. Is this possible or not possible? Suppose
Possible.
Aryan and Arpan and Rajiv, etc. are one group. So and Arpan and Rajiv want to fly at the same time. Then Arpan suppose gets this aircraft and Rajiv is given another aircraft which is owned by another group which is lying empty at that time. Can we do that? Doable?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Doable? Everybody agrees? Anybody disagrees with this?
No, sir.
Yes. Yeah, somebody wants to say something? All right. I disagree. Suppose to this particular group of Arpan, Rajiv and Aryan XYZ, I have sold one type of an aircraft, say a Beechcraft. A Beechcraft is a small aircraft. And another group which has an aircraft empty is a Cessna aircraft, which is another type of a small aircraft. Suppose I give Arpan the Beechcraft and I give Rajiv that Cessna. Will Rajiv be happy or not happy? What
Not happy.
Rajiv will say, Arey, when you sold me this aircraft, you sold me a Beechcraft and now you're selling me a Cessna. And now you're making me fly a Cessna. That's not fair. He will catch my neck, no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So what is the solution to this problem then? You tell me. What is the solution to this problem?
Grouping of people with same craft,
Grouping of people,
with the same craft.
same aircraft. So the solution is that all the 300 groups that I sell, I will sell only one aircraft to everybody, Beechcraft only. I will not have a variety of aircrafts. Does that solve a problem? And I will standardize the aircrafts in such a way that even if I give Rajiv another group's Beechcraft, unless he really checks, he will not even know that it's not his own group aircraft. When I standardize the whole model. Are we clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else wants to ask a question?
Sir-
Abhishek Datta is telling this, but sir, at the initial stage, there will not be 300 customers.
No. Initial stage, why will not there be 300? Because this marketing happens simultaneously. No? They don't start. This is not a very small company which starts with one aircraft. It is an existing company which used to sell aircrafts. So they are quickly capturing 150, 200 groups of people across the globe.
Excuse me, sir.
It's an American company. Yeah.
Sir, but what if I'm more interested in Mercedes-Benz than in Swift Desire? Like, my question is,
Yeah.
like, if I want a bigger plane for my meeting, and I am able to pay that much share for that, but I
Yeah.
don't want a standardized plane for that.
Then I have that other model for you, no? Private for complete single ownership aircraft. That business is still there. No, I have not stopped that business of mine. If you can afford another aircraft, go for it. Get it?
Okay, sir.
Right? Understand what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying? Now look at it from the business perspective. This is what we were looking at it from the customer's perspective. What benefits does this standardization of the fleet give to the to NetJets? Because you have standardized the aircrafts, you can maintain lower spare parts inventory, and spare parts inventory of aircrafts is very, very expensive. So you can make your operations much optimized and much leaner. Second, that is as far as the spare parts is concerned, inventory is concerned, etc., etc. Maintenance costs also come down, because if you have to maintain inventory for different types of aircrafts, it's expensive. Plus when you buy 200 or 300 aircrafts from the same company, your bargaining power with that company also goes up, so you can get it much cheaper. Are you with me? Everybody agrees on this?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now look at the manpower also. When I have a standardized fleet of aircrafts, the number of pilots that I would have to employ would be much lesser as compared to an airline which has multiple types of aircrafts. Say, let us compare Jet Airways versus Indigo. Jet Airways closed down last year, you know that. Indigo flies only one type of an aircraft, which is Airbus 320. Uniform. It doesn't even fly Airbus 300. Forget about flying Boeings, etc. On the contrary, Jet used to fly 7-8 different types of aircrafts. Suppose for the same number of aircrafts, 100 for Indigo and 100 for Jet, but Jet has 7-8 different types. Indigo has only one type of all 100 aircrafts, Airbus 320. The number of pilots that Indigo would have to employ will probably be 20% less than the number of pilots that Jet will have to employ. Because if a pilot has to be shifted, suppose an Airbus pilot calls in sick in Jet Airways, Jet Airways will have to find another pilot who is an Airbus pilot to be replaced. They can't suddenly tell a Boeing pilot to fly an Airbus today. In civil aviation, DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation, rules are very strict. The pilot who has to be changed from one type of an aircraft to another aircraft will have to undergo a certain amount of simulation hours on the new type of an aircraft. Only then he or she will be allowed to fly that new type of an aircraft. Which means Jet will have to employ 20-25% more number of pilots as compared to Indigo. Do you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
How much does a pilot cost to the company? Total cost. Cost to company, salary plus insurance plus perquisites, everything included. On an average, maybe a pilot costs an airline company a couple of crores of rupees. Entry-level pilots maybe 40, 50, 60 lakhs. Senior pilots maybe 3.5 crores. So on an average, I'm saying 2 crores per year cost to the company, not just salary, but other costs also. If you have 20-25% extra pilots, that means you will be spending probably 50 to 75 crores extra as compared to Indigo. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Which is again it's not a lean model. It's not an optimized business model. So now see how NetJets kept on evolving. When they created that fractional ownership model, they looked at the back end also to optimize their production, optimize their optimize their costs also, right? And then later on, they also discovered that even below that 10 raised to 8 into rich variety, there is maybe a slightly less rich variety, but equally busy. Top executives of companies, etc. They can't buy an aircraft for themselves, but they are busy and they also need a private aircraft. So that's when they introduced the chartered service business also. Chartered, that means you can charter an aircraft for a specific flight. You don't own it, but you can only charter it. So now initially they had a model of only selling directly one single aircraft to one single person. Then they came to fractional ownership, and then they introduced the chartered taxi kind of a service for aircrafts also. So that's what fractional ownership means. When you are trying to sell something expensive, you can't find one single buyer for that particular product or service, then that's where you can think of fractional ownership. Any questions on this? Is this model clear?
So one thought only. If we see business model of standard companies, industries,
Yeah.
so there I found manager and below managers employee categories. So number of managers versus employee grouping. How you think in the how you give thought to the fractional ownership here? Manager versus number of employees grouping. So what I found, number of managers are more than required. Then what to do?
No, I didn't understand what is the relation with fractional ownership there. I didn't get the question.
While discussing, I thought that whenever such a stagnated some energy is there and which is not utilized properly, if number of managers are there, they have their groups of employees with them, and managers are not 100% creative at that time, every time.
Yeah.
So can we use this power of these managers?
Yeah.
To work innovatively.
Yeah, so that's where I would say this is the model that you will look at. That is an NVA, no? Excess manager power is a non-valuating asset. How can you utilize it for something else?
Yes, yes.
Can you share that manpower with somebody else so that you are in operation? You know, so that kind of a
that
thing.
Can be example, no?
Yes,
that can be
example
NVA.
Example here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right. In this fractional ownership, any comments or questions anybody has? All right. Okay. Somebody's asking something. Shall I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead. Now comes this pay for what you use. Samoa Air. Samoa is a group of islands somewhere between Australia and New Zealand in the Pacific. It's a group of some 10, 15 islands, and it is called one country. Now, these airlines, their national carrier in 2010 started a scheme saying that we will charge you according to your weight. I'm not joking. We will charge you according to your weight. How did it function was, suppose I have to book a flight from X place to A place to B place. I go on their site maybe 1 month in advance, and they will ask me a question. How much will you weigh on the day of the flight? Which means they're asking me what is my weight plus how much luggage will I carry. Suppose I say 100 kg, 75 kg of my weight and 25 kg luggage. So according to total of 100 kgs, they will calculate and charge me for the ticket. So I swipe my credit card and buy the ticket. On the day of the flight, when I go to the airport, they will ask me to stand on the weighing scale along with my luggage. And if the total weight is say 102 kgs, which is 2 kgs extra as compared to what I had booked, then they will charge me. They will make me pay for the 2 kgs extra, give me a boarding pass, and I can go. Suppose the weight is less, say 95 kgs. That means 5 kgs less than what I had booked for. So then they will give me a credit for the next flight that I can encash that credit of 5 kgs for the next flight. Whenever I fly next, they don't give me money back. So this is actually pay for what you use. This is not pay per use. Are you getting the difference between pay per use and pay for what you use? Now let me ask you a question. These Tata Sky cable, Tata Sky teleservices, right? They charge us according to the channels that we choose. Now you tell me, is it pay for what you use or pay per use? Anyone? Is it pay for what you use or pay per use?
Pay for what you use.
Why?
I think we are subscribing the channels whichever we want.
Customizing the channels.
Yeah.
Okay, you can choose the channel. Anybody else? Anybody else would like to respond to that question?
Pay
So
for use.
Abhishek Datta is telling this. This is pay per use.
Pay for use.
Yeah. Just unmute yourself and speak. Who's
Yeah.
that?
Abhishek Datta.
Yeah. What are you saying? It is pay per use.
Per use.
Why does he say so?
Please unmute yourself.
Other views also, please. Other views also. What is it? Pay for what you use or pay per use?
So it's pay for use.
Right? Somebody else also was trying to speak. So go ahead.
Pay for use, sir.
Pay per use, right?
Yes, sir.
Not pay for what you use.
No,
Now,
Yes, sir.
suppose
Technically, yes, technically it is pay per use because they are ultimately the unit is 100 kg. They are not returning the money if you are 90 kg or 95 or 80 kg. Somehow you yourself have to consume that. So technically, I assume it as a pay per use.
No. The Samoa Air is pay for what you use. You have to, the next flight you will have to pay less, no? So suppose you get a credit this time, next time you can compensate it. So it is, see, these guys came up with this model because they used to fly small aircrafts and the weight used to matter. So weight is directly proportional to the fuel consumption. So if you are weighing more, fuel consumption is more, so please pay for it. If you're weighing less, fuel consumption will be less, so please pay accordingly. So that is pay for what you use. I'm talking about Tata Sky. When they charge you per channel, they are still pay per use only. They are not pay for what you use, because, and do they charge us according to the number of minutes of a particular channel watched? Suppose you watch 2 hours of ZTV and you watch 3 hours, 13 seconds, 12 minutes of, say, Sub TV. Do they charge us according to the number of minutes or seconds that they have charged? No, they charge us per month, right? 19 rupees or 21 rupees per channel per month. 17 rupees, 10 rupees, whatever per channel per. They don't bother about whether we watched it for 2 hours or 24 hours. So that means that technically Tata Sky is pay per use, though it might look like pay for what you use. But now, when you take a public transport, say a bus from A place to B place in your city, they charge you a fixed amount. That is pay per use. But if you take a taxi from the same destination, A to B, it charges you as per the kilometers charge. So it is there is a fixed charge and there is a variable charge. So it is a combination of, it's a hybrid, pay for what you use kind of a model. Now, can you, in whatever service you are creating or a product that you are creating, can you convert it into a pay for what you use model? Through the cloud, it can be done. Technology exists to make it happen. Especially now when when lockdown opens, etc., we are going to face a cash-strapped consumer. Do you agree? Because a lot of people are taking pay cuts. A lot of people are losing their jobs. So we will encounter a customer who will be very, very particular about spending. Do you agree with this? Post-lockdown?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
At that time, if we can think of pay for what you use kind of a model, you are making things cheaper for the customer to buy. So start thinking in those terms. But at all times, pay for what you use, you have to take into account your margins as well. Because suddenly, because of pay for what you use, the product becomes really, really cheap and you may end up making losses. So pay for what you use has to be very thought about very deeply, thought through, and then only incorporated. I'll give you an example of what happened when telecom companies started using pay for what you use. If you remember way back in 2009 or 2010 or 11, I think 2011, Tata Docomo came in with 1 paisa per second plan. 1 paisa per second of talk time was actually pay for what you use, right? Agreed? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Unless you could call up somebody, talk to somebody and finish the call in less than 1 second. Technically, it was pay for what you use, right? Now, what happened to that industry? Just analyze. Within 3 months of Tata Docomo introducing this 1 paisa per second, everybody else was also on the same plan, 1 paisa per second. And till 2000, from 2011 to 2014-15, that industry just collapsed under losses. And then in 2016, 15, 16, Jio came in and has killed that industry even more, killed competition even more. So point that I'm trying to make is, just because you discover some technology or some sensors which can make pay for what you use possible, don't jump into creating that model in a hurry. Think about the whole ecosystem and then only see whether pay for what you use is really beneficial for you as well. So though I am saying pay for what you use is a good trait, but use it very discreetly. Use it very sensibly. All right. Next one, creating a perceived shortage. How did Xiaomi and OnePlus start selling their products in the beginning? They went completely 100% online. They did not have stores earlier. Xiaomi nowadays, for the last two years or so, they have started having their own stores as well. But initially, they launched only online. And how did they launch online? They launched online in the form of these flash sales, if you remember, which means today they will announce that on 25th June, we will have a 2-minute flash sale in which our XYZ new model will be available. Because of this announcement today, that the phone will be available on, say, Flipkart and Amazon, what happens is a lot of Xiaomi's promotional costs get shared with Flipkart and Amazon. So that's one straightforward benefit there. Plus, when during that, to catch that 2-minute window, a lot of people stay logged in 3 to 4 hours in advance on those sites to catch that 2-minute window, at which time the banner advertisement rates on those platforms get jacked up 10 to 15 times the normal rates, which benefits the e-commerce platforms because of additional advertising revenue. And some part of that revenue is shared with Xiaomi also, because they were the reason why people logged in 3 to 4 hours in advance. So I have a sneaking suspicion, I don't have numbers to prove it, but I feel that Xiaomi makes more money on this jacked up advertising than the selling of their own product. I have no numbers to prove it, but I have a feeling. Now, what have they done by saying that we will be available only for 2 minutes? They have created a perceived shortage. And when you sell for those 2 minutes, you ensure that all of your stock gets sold. You ensure that very little or absolute practically zero inventory is left after that sale period. And if you are a manufacturer, would you be happy with this situation, that I end up with practically zero inventory? Wouldn't you be happy? Because inventory is actually a sunk cost. It's a drain on your cash flow. You should always optimize your production. Now, because of these flash sales, their entire business structure functions like that throughout the year in a very lean model. So their whole business model is structured around this creating a perceived shortage kind of a trait. All right, I will now stop here. I think we are running short of time. We could take questions. Before we take questions, I will share with you one simple framework that you can use to think about how to create a unique and sustainable model. These are 6 questions that you need to ask. Answers to these questions will need a lot of deep thinking, may take days to arrive at these answers. Questions seem very simple. Let me take an example to explain. Let us take the example of, say, Uber. We spoke about Uber. How do we reach the customer? How does Uber reach the customer? Customer doesn't go to Uber. Uber comes to the customer. That is, that taxi comes to you at your doorstep. And how do you reach the customer to make your service, to generate awareness about your service? What kinds of media do you use? What kinds of marketing channels, sales channels do you use? Those are the questions that need to be answered for this question. How do we optimize our operations? How does Uber optimize their operations? Uber does not have its own inventory. It enables freelance drivers to log on to their platform and do business. So that's how they optimize their operations. How do we source our manpower? Our manpower is freelancers, which means we have converted almost all our fixed costs into variable costs. I'm saying almost all, not all. Some fixed costs will always be there, but a major portion of their fixed cost is converted into a variable cost. That is, manpower is completely freelancing. How do we source our inputs? What is an input for a transportation company? Cars. Where do these cars come from? From these freelancers. So how do we source our inputs? What kind of tie-ups should we seek? What kind of tie-ups do these Uber drivers have with Uber? Uber does not make it mandatory for them to service only Uber. An Uber driver can have an Ola app also on his phone, and at some other time he can use the Ola platform to get passengers also. So the kind of tie-up that Uber seeks with its customers is a very loose, open-ended kind of a tie-up, right? So there is a lot of freedom left to these guys to be able to do what they want to do. But in the process, Uber also gets business. Everybody wins in the process. How do we create an optimal product mix? If you remember, Uber started with their taxi service. Then they introduced the outstation service, intercity service. Then they introduced the Uber pool model, where you could pool your taxi and reduce your expenses. Then they introduced an Uber hire kind of a service, where you can block an Uber for 8 hours. Suppose you go to another city and you don't want to keep on changing your taxis, you can hire one Uber for 8 hours and some 80 kilometers or something like that. So that's the Uber hire system. So they kept on introducing different products to the same kind of customer segment. So they are capitalizing on the already acquired customer segment, and what other products and services can be pushed to the same customer segment. So I have answered these questions using Uber as a model. You answer these questions using your ventures and your ideas as the central point. It may take 1 week to answer all these questions. It may take 3 months to answer all these questions, but give it very, very deep thought. These are very simple questions, but they need to be thought through very, very carefully. All right. Now I will stop here and take questions from you guys. Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Anurag.
Yeah, sir, I have a simple query regarding your business model. Hello?
Yes, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
you are audible.
Yeah. Can we start with this market survey and this any problem solution, this problem seeking product?
I didn't get your question.
Hello?
Yeah.
So can we start this? Your model looks impressive, but I have a simple query regarding that. Can
Yes.
we start this model with a problem-solving product or service?
Yes, I mean, obviously, when you are generating a business, you are obviously start trying to solve a problem, no? Now,
Yes, sir.
when you have created a solution or you're in the process of creating a solution, please ask these questions that will enable you to create a good, sustainable, unique business model.
Okay, sir.
That's the point. So, user survey, no option to that. You must do it. You have to do it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, I have this question that, like, for an early starting startups, like for the people who are just in the market,
Yeah.
for them the business model is completely different than those who are already established in the market. Like, for an example, as you have mentioned about creating a perceived shortage,
Yeah.
but like about Xiaomi created a particular stand in the market before launching this type of like business models, because people knew about Xiaomi ki, like it is a good brand and people knew that we have to take this. That's why the perceived shortage.
Xiaomi was a complete startup, no? It did not have money to do too much promotion, so they went in partnership with these e-commerce companies. It did not have money to buy real estate and start stores of their own, so they made a smart choice of going 100% online. No,
Okay, so
they were
but
not a, they became a brand later, but the strategy that they used was a very lean strategy that they started off with. No,
okay, so but in that case also, like people must be knowing about it now, because like if we go in the market, like people are much about iPhones and Samsung and Motorola, like different companies which are already established in the market.
yeah.
uh, for these type of startups, like just going into this type of phases for creating a perceived shortage, they might go in loss because people might not be knowing much about them, so they're creating a sale in that 2 hours. That might be a difficult area for them to
No, no,
have the
in
capitalism.
fact, it is a very, very lean model, because when you create a perceived shortage, you ensure that all your products are sold and you end up with practically zero inventory. And as a manufacturer, would you not want to be in that kind of a situation? So it's not don't look at it individually. Look at it as a jigsaw which is coming together. They reduce their promotional spend from their own side by making the e-commerce platforms also share the promotional expense. Second, they created a lean manufacturing operation whereby they were left with practically zero inventory. Plus, because of that perceived shortage, the advertisement rates get bumped up, and that is also a part of a revenue comes to them. The e-commerce platform shares that revenue, because that e-commerce platform gets added bumped up advertising revenue because of the product of that 2 minute window because of Xiaomi. So they share that thing. So it's a complete win-win situation over there, right?
Okay, sir.
That's
So one.
that's how you need to really strategize, and that's how they made a name for themselves. I mean, they entered a market when Samsung and Apple were already entrenched in the market, and still they have made a big dent in the market, haven't they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So think from those perspectives. They didn't have a brand of their own. They
Okay.
created one.
Okay, sir. One more question I have.
Yes.
So, like, I already have a business model, and now after seeing your presentation, sir, that created something like, so like initially we have planned to go for B2B, then B2G, and at the end,
Okay.
after having like some dealing with healthcare devices, like I am developing an oral cancer device, which can detect the oral cancer in early stages itself. So once that device is ready, we have initially planned for B2B and then B2G, and
Yeah.
later on B2C, after having a like after having something like of a creating unit, a production unit. So in that case, do you think pay for what you use strategy will work? Because
Yeah. Okay. I will take an example. Some years back, some of my students were working on a very simple device, 2013-14. Okay. They let me see if I have a Here it is. All right. Now this is, what they had created. Very simple thing. I will ask you some questions, and that will help you answer the question that you have in mind. And if after that you have questions, please feel free. I will answer that as well. Now these guys created a simple wristband, which was for deaf and mute housewives, deaf and mute people. What they did was, this is a very crude prototype, 2013. First prototype created, and then the product has evolved much better. What they created was very simple. They observed simple things that housewives who are hearing and speech impaired in their house face a lot of problems. When somebody rings the bell when she is alone, she cannot respond. When she puts something in the pressure cooker, when the whistle blows, she cannot hear and she cannot respond and put the gas off, so food gets overcooked sometimes. When she puts something in the microwave oven and sets a timer, and after the set time the microwave keeps on beeping, she cannot hear that beeping and cannot switch the microwave off. So very simple issues, right? So they created a simple wristband with a Bluetooth module embedded in it, and similar Bluetooth modules embedded in the home appliances in the house. And whenever the doorbell would ring, the wristband would vibrate and maybe a light red LED would glow on it. It's a crude model in the beginning, okay, 2013. Then if the microwave timer beeped, timer timed out, the wristband would vibrate and maybe another blue light would glow on it. Can you see these different kinds of different lights, different colored LEDs there? Simple product, okay. Now these guys, there were a group of 5 people working on this. 2 of them got very excited and said that we want to now do a venture around this. We want to launch this product. And they came to me saying, Karna hai, we want to do this. Then I said, you take your time, think about how you will take it forward. Analyze, thoda sa research karke aa jao. And after about 4 or 5 weeks, these kids came to me, those 2 boys came to me saying, sir, this is a big problem. Manufacturing in India requires, at that time, 2013, manufacturing requires some 19 or 20 licenses to be acquired. And it takes anything between 14-15 months to get those licenses. Second, and the bigger problem was, this product is so damn simple, that even if we launch it, we might be able to sell some 500-400 pieces. But within the next 6 months, Chinese fellows will come with millions of such pieces and crash the price to 1/3 of our selling price, and we will not be able to survive. Are these genuine problems?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you tell me, any one of you, all of you think, what should the go-to-market strategy of these people be? What should it be?
So have a patent on this, like with a certain claims.
This is such a simple thing here. Kya patent? Who will honor this patent? You tell me. First of all, the patent PTO, patent office, will not accept this as a patent, as a concept and idea, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
It's simple, no? And come on, what kind of patent laws exist? I mean, laws exist in our country, but are they honored? Somebody breaks your patent, you will keep on fighting that suit till you become like this. Yes or no? Practical situation. Okay, so tell me, what will you do? Any one of you, just unmute yourself and try to answer this question.
Sir, selling these devices to big companies which can like mass produce it and can present in the market.
Mass produce it, matlab China. China. Can you produce anything cheaper than China? They will beat you at manufacturing anytime, right?
Sir, I'm Somnath. I'd like to give a solution is, since you have told that it could be used for the doorbell, it could be even used for a microwave indication. So while somebody is buying a microwave, it can come up as an add-on with a microwave.
Fantastic. Right. You know what these guys did? They didn't give up. These 2 boys did not give up. We kept on talking. And after 3 months, they came up with a brilliant idea that manufacturing is our problem. The market needs the product. Do you agree? The market needs the product, but the problem lies with our inability to manufacture it. So what if we go away from manufacturing completely? So they created a cloud platform. So from a manufacturing company, they became a software company. And they said, anybody can manufacture the wristband. Anybody can manufacture the wristband. They made it open source, no restrictions at all. With embedded with anybody can manufacture with a Bluetooth module embedded in it, and we will give that manufacturer our API so that that wristband then communicates with the home appliances. Home appliances guys also take an API from this cloud platform, and the home appliance company markets its product by saying that our products are deaf and mute friendly. So they have an added feature there with a simple Bluetooth module embedded in their electronics. And this software platform helps communicate between the wristband and the appliance manufacturer. So their strategy was complete B2B strategy, not B2C strategy. So they went to these manufacturers of home appliances such as Siemens and Whirlpool and LG and Samsung and said that if you want to call your products deaf and mute friendly, you will have to embed a simple Bluetooth module into your electronics, and our API will help you communicate with any wristband manufacturer in the world. Getting what I'm saying? Hello?
Yes.
Now, what is the advantage of this kind of a model? If they had gone B2C by themselves, they would have got killed in 3 months by the Chinese. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, what did they do? They went B2B, and the whole world then opens up as their market. No? Got it?
Yes, sir.
So when you are trying to develop some hardware for disease detection, X, Y, Z, whatever it is.
Hello.
Initial R&D, yes, takes a lot of time, but later on, try to think in terms of platforms. Try to think in terms of creating a platform where even your competitors can use the platform, and you become free from manufacturing that hardware, but your scope extends quickly and somebody else actually markets your product. In this case, who marketed their products? Siemens and LG and Samsung marketed their product. Get it?
Yes, sir.
So does that answer your question, Aryan, when you were talking about cancer detection, etc.?
Yes, sir.
May not be directly, but I'm saying that initial hardware, okay, you develop. If it is really patentable, do patent it and then keep manufacturing the hardware. That will give you a good thing. But if the technology is not very complex, it is not patentable, then think in terms of platforms.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sir, if they go to B2G, like if like government is funding their products and they are selling, like government is distributing their products, then it can be like it will more benefit than B2B, right, sir?
No, agreed. So in your space, you look at the whole thing, but in terms of even B2G, if the government gets it cheaper from somebody else, they will move, right?
Yes, sir.
So in this model which I mentioned about creating a cloud, what happens is, can somebody mute yourself?
Kindly mute yourself.
Background sound. Yeah. So when you create a platform and operate through APIs, you kind of create a lock-in with the government also, right? With whoever is distributing your product or service. Once a lock-in gets created, then it is an entry barrier for competition to get in. Look how Windows, Bill Gates created a lock-in with all hardware manufacturers in the 90s to sell only Windows operating system. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
He made it difficult for hardware manufacturers to migrate to some other operating system by creating a lock-in. So per piece, he would probably get a less amount, but the volumes that he was able to sell were huge. No? So try and think in terms of platforms when you are thinking of really scaling up fast. Hardware, yes, you must focus on hardware, because unless you create that hardware, your cloud platform also doesn't function. And today, hardware manufacturing is really, really competitive. Very, very competitive. For the last 10 years, it has been so, correct?
Yes, sir.
So how do you create lock-ins is a question that you need to, yeah.
Sir, was this the same example like you have asked me to?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Shivashish, I think your question also must have got answered. What is the monetary benefit if they made it open? Monetary benefit is that the big market opens up. They don't have to do marketing by themselves. The appliance manufacturers do the marketing for them. So that's big monetary benefit. Maybe per unit, their value reduces, but compared to the volume that they get, it's a huge volume. So it's not a high margin, low volume game, but it is a low margin, high volume game that they get. And the whole world becomes their market. Then Mr. Mubarak Basha is asking, is this the right time for a product launch? Are customers really ready to accept a new technology like 3D printing? I think this is because a lot of supply chains are broken. No? So how do you now get stuff locally, create stuff locally? So 3D printing, yes, I mean, will definitely get a boost if you target the right kinds of places. Chinese supply chains are broken, right? So how do they shift? Where do they shift? Setting up those supply chains is going to take time. 3D printing, if it can actually help, if it can create commercially usable products, right now is the right time.
Sir, what would be possible business models for nutraceutical products?
For
nutraceutical products, for health products.
I didn't get it. I can't hear you. Somewhere I lost
Sir,
you.
Asking about business models for nutraceutical products.
I mean, there can't be any standard blanket model, no? I mean, one has to understand the context in which you're operating.
Okay.
Unless I know the real context, I won't be able to answer that question.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Nice presentation, sir. But I have my own problem.
Yes.
We are developing one means chemical. So that chemical will be marketed to research purpose, right? So though whatever supply chain is there available, that is all are traditional method. But any new technology can we adapt to go into the to reach into the customer?
So your question is about customer acquisition or manufacturing?
No, not manufacturing, customer acquisition.
So who are your customers? Research labs?
The research people, those who are using the chemicals.
So
means biological research people or chemical research people, chemist or biologist, those who are using the chemicals. We are developing a chemicals. We want to supply to them. So basically, whatever available model is there, all are traditional model. Means one vendor will be come and give to them product by traditional channel. Right. So if we adopt some new technology, can we directly go? So whatever model you have shown means I'm thinking that it will not fit in my business. So means what we will do basically.
So he's asking about an alternative business model.
So you are saying, how else can I reach my customer is a question that you're asking.
Yes.
Now, can you kind of look at, I have no straightforward answer to this, but I can kind of take an example. And, there was a friend of mine who was doing shrimp farming, prawns.
Yes.
Okay. And he had about almost 18-20 acres of land in around Vijayawada, East Coast. Okay. And this fellow used to plant the shrimp, harvest it after 21 days. He had 2 canning factories also. So on day 21, he used to harvest it all. The shrimp used to grow to some good size. They used to harvest it and used to do canning in the next 5-6 days. And on day 28, it used to be loaded onto some shipping containers, and that used to take that product to Western Hemisphere, Western Europe and US. Western Europe would take about 40 days to go by ship. US would take another 10 days to reach there. So his business cycle was 28 plus say 50, say 78 days. All right. Now, after doing business for 2 years, what he did was he bought 2 ships himself, converted those ships into container carriers. On the top deck, exposed to sunlight, he put in saline trays for shrimp farming on the ship. He moved his 2 canning factories on each ship. Canning factories are very light, so not a problem. So what he did was, on day 0, when the ship starts moving from Vijayawada port, he plants the seed, the egg. 21 days, it goes through tropical weather. The shrimp becomes big. On day 21, harvesting happens. Canning happens on the ship itself. And on day 45, 40, he reaches a Western European port. On day 60, 65, he reaches an American port. Now, his entire business cycle, which was 80 days in the beginning, came down to the shipping time. So what did he actually do? He found out some kind of synergies in his own supply chain. The shipping company earlier, which was only a distribution channel or a carrier company for his, and it was an external company, he brought that shipping channel into the back end of his manufacturing and optimized on this whole business model. So principle that he is using is, can you find some synergies in the supply chain other than the traditional way of doing business, is a thought that I'm leaving you with. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You got your answer, right?
Yes.
No, answer may not be an answer, but I'm just trying to give a trigger to think. Vijayanand Panigrahi, right? You asked me the question.
Analyze the things according to that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I have honestly, I have not given you an answer, and I'm not trying to say that this is an answer, but I'm saying this is an approach which can be explored, where you can look at your entire value chain and see how you can optimize your operations and create some different channels to reach out to the same customer.
Yes.
Got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
So any more questions? Or so Somnath Chandra is asking scope for mass manufacturing.
What?
Scope for mass manufacturing.
Mask as in mask.
Mask, yes, face mask.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is getting into that. So firstly, there's a lot of competition, and secondly, I don't know how long it will last. It's like, if you want to make hay while the sun shines, yes, you can. But long range sustenance, I don't know how much this has.
Sir,
Okay, sir.
many of the masks which are available in the market are not of that industrial standards which are required for N95 masks. So
Right.
in that scenario, do you think there is a scope for making good quality mask, or like in any, if at all we make good quality mask, how we can convince our customers to buy them?
See, that's what I'm saying. There is a scope. I'm saying there is a scope. But how long will the demand last is a question that I'm asking.
Okay, sir.
You know,
Sure.
because this fear psychosis which is there today may subside a year down the line. So if your strategy is to create something, produce it, make your recover your investment, earn a profit, and then move on to some other business, if that is a strategy,
Okay.
yes, it will work for sure.
Thank you, sir.
So that's what I meant by if you're thinking about make hay while the sun shines kind of a strategy. Yes. Now see what happened with ventilators. Are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear, sir.
At the beginning of April, everybody jumped onto this manufacturing of ventilators, right from Mahindra Group to these Dynamatics and XYZ people. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What has happened to them now?
I think still we are importing.
Importing plus the demand for ventilators is also not as much as it was anticipated at that time, no?
Okay, sir.
Right? So
Yeah.
analyze it properly before you get into a business.
Okay, sir.
But masks, yes, maybe it might become a part of life. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Okay, so
much.
we'll end up here.
Yes.
So thank you so much, sir, for this amazing session.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Stay safe, everybody. Enjoy yourself.
Thanks. Same to you, sir. Same to everyone.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
So participants, I have shared one feedback link in the chat box. Kindly fill it up.
Can I leave the meeting?
Yes, sir, you can.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir. Bye.
All the best to you all.
Thank you.
Bye, sir.